The room fell silent as my father's voice thundered. "You're a disgrace, Ellie, and you deserve nothing." His words sliced through the crowded hall, each syllable a blade aimed at my heart. I stood frozen, the weight of 100 eyes, family, friends, strangers spinning me to the spot like a butterfly under glass. It was supposed to be a celebration, my grandmother's memorial, a day to honor her legacy. Instead, it became the stage for my father's public crucifixion of me. At 25, I thought I'd grown immune to his disdain, but the venom in his tone, the way his finger jabbed the air, accusing me of squandering the family's honor, ripped open old wounds. "You've never earned a dime of this family's wealth," he spat, his face flushed with righteous fury. "You're no daughter of mine." I wanted to scream, to tell the room he was wrong, that I'd worked tirelessly to prove myself. But my voice caught, trapped behind years of his dismissals. My mother, pale and silent, stood beside him, her eyes fixed on the floor. My younger brother, Tom, smirked from the corner, always eager to bask in my father's favor. The crowd murmured, some nodding in agreement, others shifting uncomfortably. I was alone, exposed, my dignity unraveling with every second. Then the lawyer stepped forward. Mr. Hargrove, a wiry man with silver hair and a calm demeanor, cleared his throat. "Mr. Reynolds," he said, addressing my father, "perhaps we should proceed with the reading of Mrs. Eleanor Reynolds' will." His voice was steady, but there was a glint in his eye, a hint of something unspoken. My father waved him on impatiently, expecting, no doubt, to hear his name as the sole heir to my grandmother's fortune. Grandma Ellie had been my refuge, the one person who saw Minute as a failure, but as a dreamer. She'd taught me to paint, to lose myself in colors and shapes when the world felt too heavy. When she passed 2 months ago, I thought I'd lost my anchor. Little did I know, she'd left me something far greater than I could have imagined. As Mr. Hargrove opened the leather-bound folder, the room seemed to hold its breath. My father straightened, adjusting his tie, certain of his victory. Tom leaned forward, his greed barely concealed. I stood there, still reeling from my father's words, bracing for another blow. "Mrs. Eleanor Reynolds' estate," Mr. Hargrove began, "is to be divided as follows." He paused, his eyes scanning the room, lingering on me for a fraction of a second. "To my son, Richard Reynolds, I leave my collection of vintage cars, valued at approximately $1 million. My father's face lit up, a triumphant smile spreading. The crowd clapped politely, but I saw the flicker of disappointment in his eyes. Cars were nice, but he'd expected more. Much more. "To my grandson, Thomas Reynolds," Mr. Hargrove continued, "I leave my summer cottage in Maine, valued at $700,000. Tom pumped his fist, grinning like he'd won the lottery. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a mix of congratulations and envy. I clenched my fists, waiting for my name, dreading the moment Mr. Hargrove would confirm what my father had always said, that I was unworthy. "And to my granddaughter, Elizabeth Reynolds," Mr. Hargrove said, his voice rising slightly, "I leave the entirety of my financial assets, including my investment portfolio, real estate holdings, and liquid assets, totaling approximately $25 million. The room exploded into gasps. My father's jaw dropped, his face draining of color. Tom's grin vanished, replaced by a look of pure shock. I stood there, stunned, my heart pounding so loudly I barely heard the lawyer's next words. $25 million. It was impossible. Grandma Ellie had always lived modestly, her home filled with warmth but not extravagance. How could she have amassed such wealth? Furthermore, Mr. Hargrove said, raising a hand to quiet the room, "Mrs. Reynolds left a letter for Elizabeth. to be read aloud. He unfolded a single sheet of paper, his voice softening. My dearest Ellie, you were the light of my life, the one who carried my dreams when I could no longer chase them. This wealth is not just money, it's a chance to build the life you deserve, free from those who would dim your spirit. Use it wisely, but above all, use it to be free. Tears stung my eyes as the words sank in. Grandma Ellie hadn't just left me money. She'd left me her trust, her belief in me. My father's face twisted with rage, his hands trembling as he stepped toward me. This is a mistake, he hissed. You're nothing but a dreamer who paints childish pictures. The crowd shifted, some whispering, others glaring at my father. Mr. Hargrove raised a hand. There's more, he said, his voice firm. Mrs. Reynolds included a condition. Elizabeth is to assume full control of the family's charitable foundation, effective immediately. My father laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. She can't even manage her own life. But the lawyer's next words silenced him. And, Mr. Hargrove said, his eyes locking onto my father. Mrs. Reynolds has stipulated that Richard and Thomas Reynolds are to receive no further financial support from the estate unless approved by Elizabeth. The room felt like it was spinning. My father's empire, his control, his legacy was crumbling. And I, the daughter he'd called worthless, held the keys. I looked at him, expecting to feel triumph. But instead, there was only a hollow ache. This wasn't just about money. It was about years of pain, of being told I was less than nothing. And now, Grandma Ellie had given me the power to rewrite my story. But the real shock was yet to come. Mr. Hargrove cleared his throat again, his expression unreadable. There is one final provision, he said. Mrs. Reynolds has requested a private meeting with Elizabeth, Richard, and Thomas tomorrow morning to discuss a matter of utmost importance, a truth she kept hidden for decades. The crowd buzzed with speculation. My father's eyes narrowed, and Tom's face paled. I felt a chill run through me. What could Grandma Ellie have hidden? And why reveal it now, after her death? As the guests dispersed, whispering about the scandal, I stood alone, clutching Grandma Ellie's letter. My father's words echoed in my mind, but they were drowned out by her voice. Steady and warm, use it to be free. Tomorrow, I'd face whatever truth she'd left behind. For now, I held on to the only thing that mattered. She'd believed in me when no one else did. The morning after the memorial, I woke with a knot in my stomach. Grandma Ellie's letter crumpled in my hand. The weight of her gift, $25 million, and control of the foundation felt like a dream I wasn't ready to live. But the promise of her hidden truth loomed larger, a shadow I couldn't shake. I arrived at Mr. Hargrove's office at 9 sharp, my palms sweaty as I gripped the letter. My father and Tom were already there, seated across from the lawyer's mahogany desk. My father's face was a mask of barely contained fury, his arms crossed tightly. Tom slouched, his usual arrogance replaced by unease. Neither acknowledged me as I sat down, the air thick with tension. Mr. Hargrove wasted no time. Thank you for coming, he said, his voice calm but weighted. Your mother, Mrs. Eleanor Reynolds, entrusted me with a secret she kept for over 30 years. She wanted it revealed only after her passing, and only to the three of you. My father leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. Get on with it, Hargrove. What's this nonsense about a secret? The lawyer opened a locked drawer and pulled out a small, sealed envelope, yellowed with age. This, he said, contains a letter from Mrs. Reynolds, written decades ago. It concerns the origins of her wealth and the truth about your family. I felt my heart skip. Grandma Ellie's wealth had always been a mystery. She'd lived simply, her home filled with thrift store furniture and her own paintings. My father had assumed she'd inherited it from some distant relative, but he'd never cared enough to ask. Now, I wondered what else he didn't know. Mr. Hargrove broke the seal and began to read. To my son, Richard, my grandson, Thomas, and my beloved granddaughter, Elizabeth, he began, his voice steady. If you're hearing this, I'm gone, and it's time for the truth. The fortune I've left to Elizabeth didn't come from an inheritance or a lucky investment. It came from a choice I made, a choice to protect someone I loved. My father snorted. Protect someone. What's that supposed to mean? Mr. Hargrove ignored him, continuing. In 1985, I was approached by a man named Victor Marshall, a businessman who offered me a deal. He needed someone to manage a series of offshore accounts for a project he claimed was charitable. I was young, naive, and trusted him. But the accounts weren't for charity, they were tied to a network of illegal activities. The room went still. My father's face paled, and Tom's eyes widened. I felt a chill creep up my spine. Grandma Ellie, involved in something illegal. It didn't make sense. I discovered the truth a year later. Mr. Hargrove read on. When I confronted Victor, he threatened my family. Richard, you were just a boy. I went to the authorities, but they offered me a deal, work with them to expose Victor's network, and they'd protect us. I did, and in return, they allowed me to keep a portion of the seized funds. That money, carefully invested over decades, became the fortune I've left to Elizabeth. My father slammed his fist on the desk. You're saying my mother was a criminal? This is absurd. She wasn't a criminal, Mr. Hargrove said firmly. She risked everything to do what was right. But there's more. He turned the page, his expression darkening. Victor Marshall wasn't just a businessman. He was your father, Richard. The words hit like a thunderclap. My father froze, his mouth half open. Tom's jaw dropped, and I felt the air leave my lungs. Grandma Ellie's husband, my grandfather, had died before I was born. She'd always said he was a kind man, a teacher who passed away too young. Now, she was saying he didn't exist. No, my father whispered, shaking his head. My father was James Reynolds. This is a lie. Mr. Hargrove's voice softened. Your mother married James Reynolds after Victor went to prison, to give you a stable life. She changed her name, moved across the country, and raised you as James's son. But Victor was your biological father, Richard, and he's still alive. The room spun. I gripped the arms of my chair, trying to process it. My father's face was a storm of emotion: shock, anger, betrayal. Tom looked like he might be sick. Alive. My father croaked. Where? Mr. Hargrove set the letter down. Victor Marshall was released from prison 3 years ago. He's been living under an assumed name in California. Your mother kept tabs on him, fearing he might try to contact you. She wanted Elizabeth to know the truth because she trusted her to handle it. Why me? I blurted, my voice shaking. Why not them? The lawyer looked at me, his eyes kind but firm. Because your grandmother believed you had the strength to face this without letting it destroy you. She saw your heart, Elizabeth. She knew you'd use the wealth and the truth for good. My father stood abruptly, his chair scraping the floor. This is a betrayal, he hissed. She lied to me my entire life, and now she gives everything to her. He jabbed a finger at me, his voice trembling with rage. You'll ruin it, just like you ruin everything. Enough. Mr. Hargrove snapped, his calm facade cracking. Your mother made her choice, Richard. If you can't respect it, you'll lose more than you already have. Tom, silent until now, spoke up, his voice low. What does this mean for us? The money, The foundation does she really control it all? Mr. Hargrove nodded. Elizabeth has full authority. Your mother was clear. The foundation's mission is to help others. And she believed Elizabeth would honor that. I felt their eyes on me, heavy with resentment. My father's words from the memorial echoed, "You deserve nothing." But Grandma Ellie had seen something in me, something worth trusting. I didn't know if I was ready, but I knew I couldn't let her down. As we left the office, my father brushed past me without a word, Tom trailing behind. I stood in the parking lot, clutching the letter, the weight of the truth settling in. My father wasn't just Richard Reynolds, the man who'd shamed me. He was the son of a criminal, a man who'd shaped our family's pain. And now, I held the power to shape its future. But the real question lingered. What did Victor Marshall want? And why had Grandma Ellie feared him enough to keep him a secret? The days after the lawyer's revelation felt like walking through a fog. Grandma Ellie's letter burned in my mind, each word a puzzle piece I couldn't quite fit together. Victor Marshall, me biological grandfather. A man tied to crime, was out there, and I couldn't shake the feeling that he was closer than I wanted. I threw myself into the foundation's work, hoping it would ground me. The Reynolds Foundation had funded scholarships, shelters, and community programs for years. But under my father's oversight, it had become a status symbol, a way to flaunt the family name. Now, it was mine to reshape. I spent hours in Grandma Ellie's old office, surrounded by her paintings, poring over financial reports and project proposals. The work was daunting, but it felt like a lifeline, a way to honor her trust. My father, meanwhile, was spiraling. He called daily, leaving voicemails that ranged from icy demands to outright threats. "You're in over your head, Ellie," he said in one. "Give me control of the foundation, or you'll regret it." I deleted them, but each one tightened the knot in my chest. Tom was no better, texting me snide remarks about my stolen inheritance. Their resentment was a storm I couldn't outrun. One evening, as I sifted through foundation documents, I found a folder labeled VM Correspondence. My heart raced as I opened it. Inside were letters, some dated as recently as last year, from a man named Vincent Moore. The name didn't match, but the tone smooth, manipulative, almost charming, felt like a warning. "Eleanor," one read, "you can't hide forever. We have unfinished business." A chill ran through me. Was Vincent Moore Victor Marshall? I called Mr. Hargrove immediately. "These letters," I said, my voice trembling. "Are they from him?" He sighed, confirming my fear. "Your grandmother kept them as evidence. Victor used aliases after his release. She never responded, but she tracked his movements through a private investigator. He's in San Francisco now, running a small consulting firm." "Why didn't she tell me?" I asked, frustration bubbling up. "She left me to deal with this alone. She didn't want to burden you while she was alive," Mr. Hargrove said. "But she believed you could handle it. She said you had a fire in you, Elizabetha strength your father never understood." I hung up, my mind racing. Victor Marshall wasn't just a ghost from the past. He was a threat in the present. I needed answers, but the thought of confronting him terrified me. What did he want? Revenge? Money? Or something worse? The next day, I met with Sarah, my best friend since college, at a cafe. Her warm brown eyes and no-nonsense attitude were exactly what I needed. Over coffee, I spilled everything: the will, the secret, the letters. She listened, her brow furrowing. "Ellie, this is heavy," she said, setting down her mug. "This Victor guy sounds dangerous. You need to protect yourself, not just the money." "I know," I said, rubbing my temples. "But I can't just ignore him. Grandma Ellie kept him a secret for a reason. If he's reaching out now, it's because he knows about the inheritance." Sarah leaned forward. Then you need a plan. Hire security. Get a lawyer to dig into his past. And talk to your dad. He's a jerk, but he deserves to know who his father is. I winced. The thought of facing my father again made my stomach churn. But Sarah was right. He was part of this, whether I liked it or not. That night, I drove to my father's house, my hands shaking on the wheel. He answered the door in a rumpled shirt, his eyes bloodshot. What do you want? He snapped. I found letters, I said, holding up the folder. From Victor Marshall. Your father. His face hardened, but he let me in. We sat in his study, the same room where he'd berated me as a child for spilling paint. I handed him the letters, watching as he read, his hands trembling. For the first time, I saw something other than anger in his eyes, fear. He's a con man, my father said finally, tossing the letters on the desk. My mother lied to me my whole life, and now he's back to ruin us. Or he's after the money, I said quietly. But we can't let him. Grandma, Ellie gave me the foundation for a reason. I'm not letting Heimer you take it. His eyes flashed. You think you're better than me. You're just a kid playing at being a hero. Maybe, I said, standing. But I'm the one she trusted. And I'm not giving up. As I left, I felt a spark of defiance. My father's words still stung, but they didn't define me anymore. Grandma Ellie's faith did. I drove home, the letters in my bag, determined to uncover Victor's intentions. But when I pulled into my driveway, a black car idled across the street, its driver hidden behind tinted windows. My heart pounded. Was it him? I locked my doors that night. The letters spread across my table. Victor Marshall was out there, and he wasn't just a name on a page. He was real, and he was watching. I needed to be ready for him, for my father, for whatever came next. The black car haunted my dreams, its tinted windows a faceless threat. By morning, it was gone, but the unease lingered. I couldn't ignore Victor Marshall any longer. Was a shadow creeping closer, and I needed to know why. I hired a private investigator, a gruff woman named Carla who came recommended by Mr. Hargrove. She sat across from me in a diner, her notebook open, her eyes sharp. Victor Marshall's a slippery one, she said, scanning the letters. He's been clean since prison, but clean doesn't mean harmless. I'll dig into his firm, his contacts, everything. How long? I asked, my voice tight. A week, maybe 2. Stay vigilant. Elizabeth. Men like him don't reach out for old times' sake. Her words stuck with me as I threw myself into the foundation's work. I met with board members, proposed new initiative scholarships for artists, shelters for families in need. Each step felt like a tribute to Grandma Ellie, but also a shield against the chaos threatening to engulf me. My father's calls grew more desperate, demanding a meeting to settle things. I ignored him, but Tom's silence worried me more. He'd always been opportunistic. What was he planning? A week later, Carla called. Got something, she said. Victor's firm, more consulting, is a front. It's funneling money, small amounts, to offshore accounts. He's careful, but I traced one to a name you'll recognize, Thomas Reynolds. My heart sank. Tom, my brother, was working with Victor. I felt betrayed, but not surprised. Tom had always chased the easy path, and Victor's charm must have been irresistible. What's their deal? I asked. Hard to say, Carla replied. Could be blackmail. Could be a partnership. I need more time. But watch your back, Tom's in deep. I hung up, my mind racing. Tom had been at the memorial, smirking as my father tore me apart. Had he known about Victor then? I needed to confront him. But first, I had to protect the foundation. I called Mr. Hargrove, asking him to freeze all financial decisions until we could secure the accounts. He agreed, but warned me, "Your father's been asking questions about the foundation's assets. He's not giving up." That night, I found Tom waiting outside my apartment, leaning against his car, his face unreadable. "We need to talk," he said, his voice low. "About Victor Marshall." I shot back, my anger flaring. "What are you doing with him, Tom?" His eyes widened, but he recovered quickly. "You don't know what you're talking about. Dad's the one you should worry about losing it." "Don't lie to me," I said, stepping closer. "I know you're tied to Victor's accounts. What's your game?" Tom's jaw tightened, but he didn't deny it. "You think you're so perfect, Ellie, with your big inheritance. But you don't know what it's like to live in Dad's shadow. Victor, he gets it. He offered me a way out." "A way out?" I snapped. "He's a criminal, Tom. He used Grandma Ellie, and now he's using you." "You don't understand," he said, his voice breaking. "Dad's been meeting with him too. They're planning something big. I'm just trying to survive." I froze. My father and Victor, working together. It didn't add up. My father hated Victor, or so I thought. But Tom's fear seemed genuine. "What are they planning?" I demanded. "I don't know," he said, looking away. "But it's about the money. And you're in their way." He left without another word, his car speeding off into the night. I stood there, my heart pounding, the pieces of the puzzle refusing to fit. My father, Victor, Tom, each a threat in their own way. I needed to act, but I felt like I was drowning. The next day, I met with Carla again. She'd found more. Victor had been meeting with local developers, pitching a real estate deal tied to the foundation's properties. My father's name appeared in the documents as a consultant. The betrayal cut deep. My father wasn't just fighting for control, was selling out Grandma Ellie's legacy. "We need proof," I told Carla. "Something to stop them." "I'm on it," she said. "But you need to be ready. If they're working together, they'll come for you next." I nodded, fear and determination warring inside me. Grandma Ellie had given me this responsibility, not just to protect her wealth, but to protect her values. I couldn't let her down. But as I drove home, the black car appeared in my rearview mirror. Closer this time. I gripped the wheel, my pulse racing. Victor Marshall was coming, and I wasn't sure I was ready to face him. Carla's next report came 2 days later, and it was worse than I'd feared. Victor's real estate deal wasn't just a side hustle, it was a scheme to siphon the foundation's assets. He'd forged documents claiming the foundation's properties were up for sale, with my father's signature on several. Tom's role was smaller, but no less damning. He'd been feeding Victor information about the foundation's operations, likely for a cut of the profits. I sat in my apartment, the documents spread across my table, my head spinning. My father, the man who'd called me worthless, was betraying Grandma Ellie's legacy for a quick payout. And Tom, my own brother, was complicit. The hurt was raw, but it fueled me. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore, I was fighting for her. I called Mr. Hargrove, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "I need to stop this," I said. "Can we block the sale?" "We can try," he said. "But we'll need evidence of fraud. And you'll need to confront your father's the key." Confronting my father felt like walking into a lion's den, but I had no choice. I arranged a meeting at his office, a sterile space filled with awards and photos of him shaking hands with important people. He sat behind his desk, his face a mask of disdain. "What now, Ellie?" he asked, leaning back. "Come to gloat?" "No," I said, sliding Carla's report across the desk. "I came to stop you." His eyes flicked to the papers, and for a moment, I saw fear. "What is this?" He demanded. Proof you're working with Victor Marshall to sell the foundation's properties. I said. You're stealing from Grandma Ellie's legacy. From me. He laughed, but it was forced. You're delusional. Victor's a nobody. I'm protecting the family's interests. By forging documents. I shot back. By betraying your own mother. His face darkened. You don't get to judge me. You. With your paintings and your dreams. You think you're better than me because she gave you her money. No. I said, my voice shaking but firm. I think I'm better because I'm not a liar. He stood, towering over me. But I didn't flinch. You'll regret this. He hissed. Victor's not someone you cross. Then why are you working with him? I asked. What's he got on you? For the first time, he looked uncertain. It's complicated, he muttered. He knows things. About the family. About me. Like what? I pressed. But he shook his head, his jaw tight. Stay out of it. Ellie. You're in over your head. I left, my heart pounding, but my resolve stronger. My father was scared off Victor. Of the truth. Of losing control. I needed to use that. I called Carla, asking her to dig deeper into Victor's leverage over my father. If I could find it, I could stop them both. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. Meet me at the pier. Midnight. Come alone. VM. My stomach dropped. Victor Marshall was making his move. I considered ignoring it. But I couldn't. This was my chance to face him. To end the threat. I told Sarah, who insisted on coming as backup. You're not meeting a criminal alone, she said, her voice firm. We arrived at the pier early, hiding in the shadows. The air was thick with salt and tension, the waves crashing below. At midnight, a man stepped into the moonlight, tall, lean, with sharp features and graying hair. Victor Marshall. Elizabeth, he said, his voice smooth, almost warm. You're just like your grandmother. Stubborn. What do you want? I asked, stepping forward, my voice steady despite my fear. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. The foundation. It's mine. By rights. Your grandmother took what was mine, and I want it back. She earned it, I said. She exposed you. You're a criminal. Criminal. He laughed softly. I'm a survivor. Like you. Join me, Elizabeth. We could do great things with that money. I felt a surge of anger. You used her. You're using my father. My brother. I won't let you touch her legacy. His smile faded. You're making a mistake. Your father's already on my side. And Tom. He's weak. You can't stop us. Then why are you here? I asked, my heart racing. If you're so sure, why talk to me? He stepped closer, his eyes cold. Because I see her in you. And I don't want to destroy you. But I will, if I have to. Sarah emerged from the shadows, her phone out, recording. Victor's face twisted, and he lunged toward her. I grabbed his arm, pulling him back. Leave her alone. I shouted. He shook me off, his voice low. You'll regret this. Elizabeth. All of you will. He vanished into the night, leaving me trembling but resolute. Sarah hugged me, her voice shaking. We've got him on tape. That's something. It was, but it wasn't enough. Victor was dangerous, and my father and Tom were entangled in his web. I needed to act fast before they destroyed everything Grandma Ellie had built. Sarah's recording of Victor was a lifeline, but it wasn't enough to stop him. I needed hard evidence, something to prove his scheme and my father's involvement beyond a shadow of a doubt. Carla was working overtime, chasing leads on Victor's offshore accounts. But time was running out. The foundation's board was growing restless. questioning my leadership. My father's influence still lingered, and I could feel the walls closing in. I met with Mr. Hargrove again, showing him the recording. His face was grim as he watched Victor's veiled threats. "This is serious, Elizabeth," he said. "We need to go to the authorities, but we'll need more than this to make it stick." "What about the forged documents?" I asked. "Can we use them?" "They're a start," he said. "But we need to catch Victor in the act or get your father to turn on him." The idea of my father betraying Victor seemed impossible. He was too proud, too stubborn. But Victor's hold over him, whatever it was, might be the key. I decided to take a risk. I called my father, asking him to meet me at Grandma Ellie's old house. "No lawyers, no tricks," I said. "Just us." He agreed, surprisingly, and I arrived at the house that evening, my heart heavy with memories. The living room still smelled of lavender, Grandma Ellie's favorite scent. My father stood by her easel, his face softer than I'd expected. "Why here?" he asked, his voice low. "Because this is where she raised you," I said. "Where she fought for you. And you're throwing it all away." He flinched, but didn't argue. I pressed on. "Victor's using you, Dad. Whatever he's got on you, it's not worth losing everything. Tell me what he knows." He looked away, his hands clenched. "It's not that simple," he said. He has proof. About my past. Things I did when I was younger, before you were born." "What things?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He sank into a chair, his face crumpling. "I was reckless. Got mixed up with some bad people, Victor's people. I didn't know who he was then, but I helped him move money. When your grandmother found out, she covered for me. Took the blame." I stared at him, shock mingling with pity. "She protected you," I said. "And now you're helping him destroy her legacy." "I didn't have a choice," he snapped, his voice breaking. "He threatened to expose me, ruin my name, my business. I thought, if I helped him, he'd leave us alone." "He won't," I said, my voice firm. "He's a parasite. But you can stop him. Help me, Dad. For her." For the first time, I saw something like regret in his eyes. "What do you want me to do?" he asked. "Wear a wire," I said. "Meet with Victor. Get him to admit what he's doing. We'll take it to the police." He hesitated, then nodded. "For her," he said quietly. The next day, Carla set up the sting. My father met Victor at a warehouse, wired up and nervous. I listened from a van nearby, my heart in my throat. Victor's voice was smooth, confident, detailing the sale of the foundation's properties. "We'll split it 50-50, he said. "Your daughter's too soft to stop us." "She's stronger than you think," my father said, his voice steady. "And I'm done with you." Victor laughed, but it was cut short when the police swarmed in, Carla's evidence and the recordings sealing his fate. He was arrested, his scheme crumbling. My father wasn't charged, thanks to his cooperation, but he looked broken as they led Victor away. Back at Grandma Ellie's house, I sat with my father, the silence heavy. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "For everything. I was wrong about you." I nodded, tears in my eyes. "We can't change the past," I said, "but we can honor her now." Tom, meanwhile, had disappeared, likely scared off by Victor's arrest. I didn't know if he'd ever face me again, but I couldn't worry about him now. The foundation was safe, and I had work to do. With Victor Marshall behind bars, the foundation was secure, but the scars of the past lingered. I threw myself into its mission, launching new programs for artists and families in need. Each project felt like a brushstroke, painting the future Grandma Ellie had envisioned. The board, once skeptical, rallied behind me, inspired by her legacy. My father was different now, quieter, haunted by his choices. We weren't close, but we were trying. He started volunteering at the foundation. Small steps toward redemption. One evening, as we sorted scholarship applications, he looked at me, his eyes soft. "She'd be proud of you," he said. I smiled, the ache in my chest easing. Tom resurfaced months later, sending a letter from halfway across the country. "I'm sorry," he wrote. "I was lost. I'm trying to find my way." I didn't know if I could forgive him, but I sent a reply, leaving the door open. Family, I'd learned, was messy but worth fighting for. The truth about Victor had shaken us, but it also set us free. Grandma Ellie's secret wasn't just about money, it was about courage, about choosing love over fear. I hung her favorite painting in the foundation's office, a vibrant canvas of a sunrise. It reminded me of her words, "Use it to be free." I was, and I'd make sure her light kept shining.